What's up, desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back with another video. And today I'm doing my preview and predictions for the 2021 Texas Pro being held this weekend, where I'm going to have all the coverage on that from this weekend. So make sure you do subscribe and hit the notification bell button as well, so you don't miss out on any of that. And it's going to be a battle between Iain Valliere, Steve Kuclo, Phil Clahar, and many other top names as well. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to start with the Open Pro men's, and I'm going to do my full top 10 because there's 10 men competing in this show, at least as the competitor list says. And I'm going to go through every single one of them and place them how I think they'll place in this show. So in 10th place, I have Camilo Diaz. The dude's been competing literally all year. Started at Indy at the start of the season. Comes in great condition, got a good amount of muscle without being enough, and that's sort of his problem. He needs a little bit more muscle to be placing really high in shows like this, but he's got the physique to definitely do it. So maybe in a year or two, we'll see him placing up in the top 5 regularly in shows like this. 9th place, Douglas Frucci. Dude, it comes in great condition, got a lot of muscle. He did Tampa last week, I believe, and looked pretty damn good there. In 8th place, I have Kevin Jordan, coming off 13th place in Tampa, which was his comeback show. He hadn't competed in, I think, about 3 years, and he looked really, really good. Looks like overall he maybe just needs a little bit more muscle. If he can do that, he can place really high at these shows. I mean, he had placed top 5 in the past. I think he can at least place top 5 once again, and maybe even push to place a little bit higher and get to a Mr Olympia. At some point, he just needs to bring that conditioning, which he brought pretty good conditioning last week. I think he just needs more size and more fullness overall, which I think with another year, he can definitely do that. But I've got him in 8th place here. In 7th, I have Muhammad El Aman. Now, last week, he let his stomach hang out a little bit in that posing. I highlighted in one of my videos, and it really did hurt him in my belief, and his stomach sort of looked a little bit washed out. If he can bring that midsection in, come in really tight there, he's going to do a lot better and can push higher than 7th in this lineup as well. In 6th place, I have Dorian Hayward. A guy's been competing since the start of the year, that Indy Pro. Continued to look pretty damn good through the contest season. It's not like he's regressed a huge amount or looked much, much worse. He sort of varied a little bit show to show in terms of his conditioning level and fullness level. But overall, he's brought a pretty consistent package. So that would earn him top 6 spot here, in my opinion. And, you know, like we've mentioned in previous videos, you know, his quads need to come up a little bit, and that's sort of what's holding him back at this point. If he can do that over the next 12 to 24 months, like, look, Max Charles did it at a much older age, I believe, as well, he's going to be very formidable in all these smaller shows as well. In 5th place, I have Martin Fitzwater. A guy's making his pro debut at 24 years of age. He's a training partner of Brett Wilkin, who made a massive pro debut at that Chicago Pro, placing 2nd. Now, can Martin Fitzwater actually replicate that and place as well as Brett did? I'm not so sure he can place as high as 2nd in this show, but he's a big unknown and he's a big wild card in this show. Can he place a top 3? That's going to be very tough based on, you know, the top 3 guys coming into this show. But you never know. Martin Fitzwater is looking pretty crazy by his recent physique updates, and I'm very excited to see how he does in his pro debut. In 4th, I have Hassan Mustafa, a guy who packs a huge amount of muscle. By his recent physique update that I saw online, he's looking like he's a little bit more crisp. Now, in his last show, he came in a little bit fuller, and I thought it was a good look for him, honestly. He came in bigger, and he was the same sort of conditioning. So he only sort of improved from previous shows where he's really trying to kill himself to get down and get really, really hard. But sometimes you get to a point, I think, where you keep pushing, and your body just, you know, resists and holds off. And I think probably refeeding him probably did him a world of good, and, you know, filling up a little bit. And hopefully he's actually able to pull it back a little bit for this one, still bring a certain level of fullness where he's still really big, but bring a little bit better conditioning. Now, that's hard to ask because he has been competing all year so far. So it's hard to keep improving your physique when your body is obviously pretty tired. And I imagine his body is pretty tired at this point. But if he can bring that better conditioning, especially through the hams and glutes, which everyone sort of talks about, but overall, if he can bring better conditioning, then he could do very well in this show and place, you know, maybe as high as top 3. And in 3rd place, I have Phil Clahar. Super impressive last week, placing 2nd to Iain Valliere in that Tampa Pro. It was only 1 or 2 weeks prior in Chicago that he placed 11th. So he made a huge jump. His physique actually did improve as well. I thought he was actually overlooked in Chicago, but his physique improved as well and placed 2nd and was very, very impressive. Now, can he crack that top 2? He definitely can. Now, Iain Valliere, I think, is probably only going to improve, but Iain has come in flat before. So if Iain, you know, really aims for that conditioning and pushes for it hard and comes in flat and, you know, doesn't have that pop to his muscle, Phil can overtake him. There's no doubt about that. And also Steve Kuclo. Now, Steve Kuclo's that guy has finished as high as 5th in the Olympia, But can he miss his mark at times? Sure he can, absolutely, but I don't think he probably will, and that's why I've got Phil Clahar placing in third. Now onto the top two, and I've actually recorded this before, and I decided to change my mind. I went back and sort of redid the top six again, and in second place, I have Iain Valliere. Now the first time I did this, I had Iain Valliere winning it. That's how close I actually think this top two will be, and it's very, very hard to decide because Iain Valliere can make huge improvements show to show, and he actually also probably could fade as well. If he tries to come in a little bit too tight conditioning, could he come in flat? Absolutely he could. Maybe he could get jumped by Phil Clahar and Steve Kuclo and finish third, and that would sort of be a very disappointing finish there for Iain Valliere. But I think he'll come in a little bit tighter, and I think he'll come in a little bit better. Will that be enough to beat Steve Kuclo? I have no idea because we don't know what Steve Kuclo we're getting. We haven't seen him on stage for about 1.5 years now. I believe it was the Arnold Classic in 2020 where he placed top 5 there. I think he maybe placed 4th. What version of Steve Kuclo will we get? I'm not too sure, but I think Iain Valliere is sort of the known commodity here. So maybe in a way, Iain Valliere is the safer bet, but Steve Kuclo, I think, still has the higher stock than Iain Valliere, but only just. These two are very comparable, and I think at come Olympia time, they're going to be very, very close. As long as Steve Kuclo obviously wins this show and qualifies, and it might be another sort of rivalry like we saw last year with Iain Valliere and Hunter. We might see a new rivalry between Iain Valliere and Steve Kuclo. And the reason why I have Steve Kuclo is just because he brings a huge amount of thickness. He's much taller than he actually looks in photos by himself as well, and he does look big in photos by himself. I believe he's about 6 foot tall or so, which, you know, in photos I see him and I think, oh, he's 5'9", 5'10", sort of a standard tallish bodybuilder height. But he's much taller than that. I believe he's 285 or 290 pounds for this show, which is absolutely insane. At least that's what's been reported. So I think we're going to see a very impressive version of Steve Kuclo as long as he brings that conditioning. If he doesn't, because he doesn't have the greatest muscle separation, I think that will really hurt him. And Iain Valliere and Phil Clahar could definitely jump him at this show. So let me know in the comments below what your top 5, top 10, or even just your winner for the open class is. If you guys like and appreciate this content, please give this video a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up for myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding, including all my coverage of the 2021 Texas Pro. So that's it for me. For Xavier Wills, Desktop Bodybuilding, we are